Good evening, everybody.
Hello.
Christina, it looks like we're streaming already.
Yes.
Okay.
And I just put in board docs. So once we're have more board members, you can begin.
Okay. Hello, everybody.
Hello. Hello.
Just so you can start thinking, today when we go around and introduce ourselves, I'll ask people to share a sign of spring that they look out for as we wait for spring to really kick into gear. So just be thinking about that before we get started.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Good evening to folks just joining us. We will get started in just a few minutes. And just so everyone knows, we are live on YouTube at this point. We'll just wait for another minute or two to see if we can get a couple other board members on the call. Thank you all for being here and on time. Christina, if it's all right with you, maybe we'll start the introductions going and hope that a couple more board members join. Is that all right?
That works, yes.
Okay. So welcome everyone. My name is Stephen Tatum. I'm a board member of the Hartford Board of Education and chair of this Family and Community Engagement Committee. Today is April 3rd, 2025, and welcome to tonight's meeting. If we could go around and briefly introduce ourselves and share both our role and on this sort of rainy late winter, early spring day, if you could share one sign of spring, either that you have noticed so far or one that you look out for and are excited about seeing. So I'll start. My name again is Stephen Tatum. I'm a board member and chair of this Family Community Engagement Committee. And the forsythia bushes are always like an early one that I look out for. That shot of yellow really gives me hope that change is coming. And I'll pass it off to Miss Janelle Hooker.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Janelle Hooker, and I am the Executive Director of the Office of Strategic Partnership and Fund Development for Hartford Public Schools. And one thing that I notice that's telling me that spring is coming is the daffodils that I see outside my window. They like starting to spring. So I'm like, yes, it's coming. And do you want me to pass it to someone else? I will pass it on to Flor de Hoyos.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Flor de Hoyos, and I am the director of the Welcome Center, Family Service, and Ombudsman. I always look out for the bird's nests. There's always a bird that builds a nest on our AC. And so I just know. And then I become like Mama Bear because I have to protect them. I will pass it on to Liliana Cuevas.
Good evening, everyone. Liliana Cuevas, Executive Director for Post-Secondary and Alternative Education. And one of the things that I look forward to, I'm going to have to agree with Director Hooker, and it's the daffodils. It's always a great sign. So thank you. And I'm going to pass it on to Viviana Alvarado.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Viviana Alvarado, and I'm the Partnerships and Community Schools Manager out of the Office of Strategic Partnerships and Fund Development. And something that I always love in the spring is we have a lot of bushes, and then we have cardinals and blue jays that come and nest there, and it's amazing hearing them in the morning sing. Makes me feel back at home. And I'll pass it on to Board Member Hockenhall.
Thank you, Jen Hockenhall, Board Chair and Board Member for the School Board here in Hartford. I have to agree with everyone else on the birds. It's always the birds chirping outside the window that make me know that the winter is almost over. So I will turn it over to Director Davis Gooch.
Hi, good evening. Sherry Davis Gooch. I am the Executive of Special Assignment in the Office of Operations. All I need to know that spring is coming is the change in temperature. I can't stand cold weather. So I think if we have a couple of 50 degree days in a row, I'm good. Here comes spring. And I will turn it over to Director Zayas.
Thank you. My name is Pedro Zayas. I'm the Director of External Relations and Communications. And yeah, I have to go with the birds. Once you start hearing them and noticing different species, you turn the corner. And I'll pass it on to my good friend, Jose Colon.
Thank you. Jose Colon, Chief Operating Officer. I would say I actively look for crocus because I know they tend to be come out really early on, and that just gives me the hope that we're really there. So for me, it's the crocus. Thank you. And I'm gonna pass it on to Alejandro Martinez.
Good evening, everyone. Alejandro Martinez, Family Outreach and Engagement Manager for the district. And I'm going to agree with everyone else. I have my tulips in the front of the house are coming up, so that's a sign of spring. And I am going to pass it on to Erin Doyle.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Erin Doyle. I'm the Assistant Director for Multi-Tiered Systems of Support out of the Office of Student Support Services. And my first sign of spring that I know my son and I always look for is the flowers starting to come through, whether those are tulips or daffodils. But we know that when we see those, that spring is on its way. It's very exciting. So I will pass it on to Board Member Walker.
Thanks, Assistant Director Doyle. I'm going to ditto what Director Colon brought up. Crocus, my first sign of spring. Those they're short-lived, but they bring this bright purple in my yard, and they seem to not need anything but just for the hard frost to be over for them to kind of pop up. And with that, I'm not sure. Let's see. Liliana Cuevas, can I hand it over to you?
I introduced myself already, but I can.
Well, then let me take it.
You'll take it?
I'll take it back.
Okay.
Who hasn't gone?
I'll give you an assist, Mr. Walker. So we need to hear from Board Member Estrada Perez. We need to hear from Sofia Seguara Perez, Deborah, Mark, Stephen Wilson, Emily, Craig, or Mark.
Thank you very much. Then I will hand it over to Board Member Estrada Perez.
Hello, everyone. So glad to be here. I'm assuming the prompt is, how do you know spring is coming? I live in the heart of the city, and I know the spring is coming when the city comes to life. More people outside, more kids playing outside, lots of music in the background, lots of living in, right? So it's always good to see the humans coming outside, being in connection with one another, seeing the young kids playing. So all of the cues to nature, because we want to be in our parks, we want to do all the things. And then to the humans that are part of that conversation, the music, the background, the bikes, the kids playing, the soccer balls, basketballs. So that's usually my sign that spring is here, and that we are all ready to shake out and be in community with one another. And I will pass it to Sofia Segura Perez. I hear that you still have.
Yeah. Sofia Segura Perez from the Hispanic Hair Council. And I just I love the feeling of when spring starts, because the days become longer. Is what I like. And then I've been thinking what I'm going to do with my garden. So I've been thinking in trying to grow some lavender. So those thoughts bring a lot of happiness to me.
I'll just keep going down the line. Mark Sedensky.
Hi, I'm Mark Sedensky with Arcadis O&G. I've taken over for Sal Salafia, who had a long due retirement as the owner's rep on the Buckley High School project. I keep hearing crocus, and I see them every morning as I walk to my car, popping through. That, and I'm able to take my dog for a walk around the lake now when I do get home from work. So happy spring is here. Let's see, I'll turn it over to Emily.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Emily, and like Mark says, we are the owner's rep. And the reason I know that spring is here is the tulips around my front yard are starting to blossom. So very happy for these nice rainy days, of course, but at least the flowers are coming up. And I will turn it over to Craig DeJong.
Hello, everybody. My name is Craig DeJong. I'm a senior project architect with the SLAM Collaborative. Been engaged in Bulkley High School for quite some time now. And I guess I'd have to say I'm just happy when it's daylight when I get out of work. And I don't know who to turn it over to now. I don't know, have we touched on everyone?
Let's hear from Deborah Zimmerman Hertz.
Hey, everybody. I'm Deb Zimmerman Hurst, Communications Manager from Hartford Public Schools. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. My favorite thing in the spring is hearing what I call the peepers, or the frogs when they start waking up in even the smallest ponds, and you hear them at night going beep, beep, beep. And that just makes me so happy. Oh, wait a minute. Who hasn't gone yet?
How about Board Member Wilson? Go ahead.
Yeah.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Board Member Wilson. With me, I would have to agree. Board Member Perez, I think when it's a clear indication when the city starts to come alive and the weather becomes a little sporadic. It doesn't want to make up its mind whether it wants to be cold, warm, rainy, humid. It's doing all of the above. And so definitely that encompasses with the city coming to alive. The young men and women out there in their dirt bikes and four-wheelers are definitely a big indication.
I totally love that too.
I think we've got two more. Elaine Gagliotti.
Correct. Yes. Hi, I'm Elaine Gagliotti, Senior Director of Food and Child Nutrition Services. And for me, I know it's spring when I can leave for work early in the morning and I don't have to put a jacket on, and I walk outside and I don't have to warm my car up. I got Chris. I'm turning it over to Chris sitting near me.
Hi, everyone. My name is Chris Capetta. I'm the Director of Child Nutrition Services here in Hartford Public Schools. I'm also one of our dietitians. For me, when it's springtime, I know it is because at 7 o'clock when I'm finishing up a run, I can still see around me. It's not pitch black. That slight feeling of warmth is in the air and I'm not freezing at the end, so I always enjoy that. And we will pass it off. So there was one more person.
Last but not least, I think it's Mark D'Agostino.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Mark D'Agostino with D'Agostino and Associates. We are the technology consultants working underneath SLAM. For me, it has to be the start of baseball. Once that starts, I know we're close to the summer and the warmer weather.
And my apologies, we've got one more. Christina Santiago, why don't you introduce yourself?
I thought I got away with it. I might be the only one. I don't know nothing about flowers, so I had to Google what a crocus was. Now that I know, I agree with that. I agree with the city coming to life. When I used to be able to, if you go to school, drive down Park Street, no problem. And then all of a sudden you have to stop every 5 seconds because somebody just wants to walk in front of you. And the last one, that last snowfall when you think you're safe and then New England hits you. So those things.
Wonderful. Just a last check. Has anyone not gone? Okay, great. Well, thank you for sharing those little glimpses of life. I know I'm trying to hold on to some of those brighter moments that signal change in pretty tough times. With that, Christina, if you wouldn't mind showing up the agenda. Thank you all for joining us, all the staff that's joined us, and all of the partners that have a role to play in tonight's meeting. Thank you for being here. There are 8 total items on the agenda. We'll start with some updates and review of contracts for discussion at the upcoming board meeting later on in April. We'll hear a summer program overview, and then get the usual reports from School Governance Council, Title I funds as they relate to family engagement, and the report of the Welcome Center. So we will start it off with some general updates. Ms. Hooker, that's for you, right?
Yes, thank you so much. So in following the protocol that we now instituted as part of our family and community engagement, I'm here to share with you our April to-do. for the Office of Strategic Partnership and Fund Development. On April 1st, we assisted with the budget hearing, which was an in-person event at ND Fox Middle School. On April 8th, we have a parent and caregiver panel. It's a virtual meeting that we host with a number of parents and caregivers to go over different topics that we want to get input from the district. April 14th through April 18th, while it is spring break for us here at the district, we do have a few community-based organizations that are providing summer spring programming. At MD Fox and Burr, we will have the Village facilitating program in there. And at Hartford High, we will have Ready CT facilitating program in there for Weaver, Hartford High, and 3 of the magnet schools. All of those high school students will be coming together to have a spring program in there. On April 21st, we will be hosting our monthly partners meeting, which is an in-person meeting to provide technical support to all of our community-based organization. And April 25th, we have 2 events going on that day. In the morning, we will be celebrating Arbor Day, which this year it will take place at Weaver School in the morning hours. On April 25th in the afternoon, we would have a partner collaborative panel. This is an opportunity for us to have conversations with partners specifically on things that are coming or we strategizing at the district and we need input from them. And we will finalize the month of April with a community conversation in collaboration with the Ascend Pipeline around our climate and culture results around family engagement to get some input that will help us with our strategic planning. And that concludes my to-do for the Office of Strategic Partnership and Fund Development for the month of April.
Thank you for that overview. I love seeing sort of a roadmap of what lies ahead for the month. Next up, we're going to hear an update on the Buckley construction project.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I'd like to share our appreciation to the committee for having us this evening. We want to present, and I don't know if Emily, you could bring up that presentation or share that. Thank you.
Yes, Craig, just 1 second.
Certainly.
If you could first, so we're here tonight to present on our phase 9. As you know, at each phase, we have to come before the board to get approval to move forward with submitting the documents to the state. Craig, can we start with just introducing the team so everyone will understand the players? Thank you.
Yep. So my name is Craig DeJong. I'm a senior project architect here with the SLAM Collaborative, and I've been engaged on the Buckley High School project for several years now. I have with me Mark D'Agostino of D'Agostino Associates. They are providing the design of the IT, information technology, and audiovisual components for the school. And I'll let the folks from Arcadis O&G introduce themselves, if that's appropriate.
Yep. Emily, if you could start, that would be great.
Sure. Good afternoon. As mentioned earlier, my name is Emily Cifuentes. I am the Financial Controls Manager under Arcadis O&G CNR. We have been working along with SLAM to ensure that the items provided before you are all on budget. And along with us is also Mark Sedensky, our current program manager for the Buckley High School project. Mark?
Thanks, Emily. Yeah, Mark Sedensky. I took over for Sal Salafia, who, was on the job from the beginning. Sal recently retired in December. So I'm learning my way around, but I have been involved. I've been with O&G for 27 years, almost exclusively involved in the construction of public schools. I worked on the Bridgeport School program, the Waterbury School program, and now at Buckley here.
That's the team before you. And if we can proceed forward, Craig will take over the presentation that is currently on your screens.
Well, certainly. Thank you, Emily. So again, we're here to present our Phase 9 technology equipment documents, Phase 9 of 9, yay. The purpose of this is really to purchase all the technology components for the high school and the central admin and the commissary and the print shop. And this includes procurement and installation of all the classroom AV systems, phones, the data switches, the wireless access points, and the computers for the renovation, including central admin, commissary, and the print shop. So we are poised to do that. This also in the footnote here includes the press box and outdoor athletic storage buildings. And I mentioned the print shop and the commissary already. So if we could go to the next page. So again, we are here at phase 9 of 9. As a brief update, the phase 8 furniture and equipment package is currently out to bid. So we are anxiously awaiting the return of bids on that. And our next step for the phase 9 technology is to now go before the state OGA to have a plan completion review and then gain approval to go out to bid on the work. So if we could go to the next page. And then I'd like to introduce Mark D'Agostino to speak a little bit about the specific components of the IT and AV program. So Mark, if you could educate us a little bit here.
Sure. So we work closely with the stakeholders at the Board of Ed, their IT department, to determine which network switches we would need. So this just is a brief overview of the network switches that are going into all of the data rooms that are in the new school. And that will allow for 100% utilization of every Ethernet cable drop that is in the school, which includes all your computers, all your phones. It'll include any AV connectivity to the network, local area network. It'll also include all of your video surveillance cameras that are on the local area network as well. And then we worked with Sean to get the Cisco phones in place that are typical throughout all of the rest of the district. So we're going with the Cisco phone systems. And the bottom left is just a snapshot of your wireless access points. The school will have 100% utilization of the wireless access. So no matter where you are in the school, you'll be able to have Wi-Fi for the students, faculty, and visitors.
So Mark, if we could just point out for the committee who Sean Flynn is, because you mentioned his name.
Sean Flynn, of those of you who do not know him, he is the director of IT at Hartford School System, and we're also working with Charisse. And I'm sorry, but I forget Charisse's last name.
Actually, Mark, if I may interrupt, Sean Flynn and Cherise Snipes work for the City of Hartford, Metro Hartford. I think it's Innovative Solutions, short for long for MHIS. I could have the last two wrong.
Yeah, it's information services.
Information services, yes.
Yeah. So in all our projects, we, work with the stakeholders that support the project. So as we plan forward, obviously we would have to work with our MHIS department because they would be supporting our network and infrastructure. So those stakeholders always are at the table to give the feedback.
Thank you. So Mark, if you could continue.
Sure. You can go to the next page. Okay, so, and then we're going to design in, these are interactive whiteboards. So they're like touch screens and they connect to the computers. Teachers can display content from the computers onto these interactive displays. And the students can actually go up to these displays and they can project their work onto these displays from their computers, and they can manipulate the screen without having to go onto the teacher's computer. So these interactive boards will go in all the teaching spaces and be connected, hardwired back to the teacher's station. And these are called New Line interactive boards. And here are the peripherals, the computers and the peripherals. We have in the top left, there's laser printers. There's not many of those, but there are laser printers that are distributed through the school. The next images that's the Chromebook that all the students will have. That'll be their laptops. And then throughout the spaces and in the labs, they're going to have the HP all-in-one computer with a hardwired mouse and keyboard. There's one digital printer, one digital 3D printer that'll be in the arts area, I believe. And then the ProBook notebook would be for the teachers.
Okay. This next slide is part of this presentation is our budget overview. As right before you, you'll have two budgets, one for Buckley High School and the other one for central administration. Currently, both projects are under budget. We have reviewed the estimates and they're also within budget. We are ready to move forward with the state to provide and seek approval of the technology equipment for Buckley High School.
Thank you,
And
Tim.
that's-
And we can open up for questions.
Yes.
Are there any questions from board members or anybody else? Mr. Stelliger, welcome, and you have the floor.
Good afternoon, and thank you for the presentation thus far. And I apologize for being off camera. I'm feeling a little bit under the weather. However, the question that I have with regards to all of this technology is, what is in place, or what would be in place with regards to whether it's firewall or, you know, some type of cybersecurity precautions? Has that been factored in, and what will that cost?
So I'll start. Again, we work with MHIS, so any technology, whether it's firewalls and such, is set to the standards that MHIS holds. So when we're working in developing the technology package, we know that it's aligned with the MHIS standards. So when you say cost, are you asking for an itemized breakout of like what the cybersecurity and firewalls are itemized in this package? Because firewalls are generally already established by MHIS. So I just want to make sure I understand your question.
Well, yeah, let me clarify. So being that this is going to be new equipment in a new location, how vulnerable will that equipment be, that technology be? If not, perhaps it won't be, but I'm just curious.
Oh, yes. So yes, I mean, it's a great question. So like Cherie Snipes, the CIO, does the work of ensuring, like she actually approves the type of equipment that is being purchased for the school. So all the security parameters, requirements are met before we come before the board and the city and the state to move forward.
May I add?
Thank you.
I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, the firewalls are not in this building itself because the feed is coming into your central location. Your internet feed is coming from the central location and then being distributed out to the schools, and Bulkley being one of the schools. So that bottleneck is in another building, so to speak, and that's where all your firewalls are currently.
Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome.
All right, Mr.
I have a question, you guys. And it's just about like a maintenance contract or equipment replacement specifically for smart boards and any equipment the students are using? I often see it falls upon the schools to have to come up with money to replace a smart board, for computers, et cetera. And I'm just wondering if that's included in this construction budget and in the supply of the equipment, or what is the plan moving forward on equipment?
So Deb, that's probably a larger discussion outside of this. So it sounds like you're referencing what is the long-term planning for maintenance of equipment
Yeah,
in buildings. And so I will say for this conversation, this is certainly these devices and such and equipment being purchased comes with warranties. Long-term planning, COO Cologne and myself and Sharice Snipes, we all will continue to work on the warranties and maintenance plans going forward. I hear you say that it falls on the school, but I would also say that it is something that the district has, especially as we move through our one-to-one infrastructure, has continued to think about and work on. So we've done our best to keep those costs away from the schools. And there are different streams of money that schools have, say Commissioners Network or such. So it is complicated, but there is a concerted effort to address.
Thanks, Sherry.
You're welcome.
Mr. Walker, go ahead.
Thank you. About the phone system, I know digital phones seem to be, or these voice over IP seems to be the way that most modern office phones are running. It wasn't clear that that's what we're using. I don't know. So I guess I'm just going to ask, what kind of equipment are we actually installing there? Voice over IP, or do we have some existing system we have to connect to?
They are voice over IP telephone. And your call managers, your central servers are already in place at other locations on the network. So it is a Cisco voice over IP telephone handset.
Okay. Thank you. I guess if I'm going to ask a quick follow-up, and I'll stop here. So, Chief David Gooch, in that situation, is then the sustainability of that, does that mean it's like handled by the district, or MHIS is just handling that, the management of the phone system since it's at a central spot?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
They are the ones that manage the phone system. And again, they gave the input on what phones should be purchased for this project.
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
and they will tie into the system that's already in place.
Okay. That sounds like a great plan. Thanks.
You're welcome.
All right, Ms. Estrada Perez, go ahead.
Thank you. I have a follow-up question about the maintenance. So I've heard the conversation about what we should be thinking about further in the long-term run in terms of maintenance. My question is there going to be time for, through technology, new additions to the spaces? Is there going to be time to train building staff on how to use it? And then B, is there going to be a plan? I'm assuming the answer is yes, but I just wanted to name it. Is there going to be a plan of troubleshooting in school? So like if something were to happen, I worked in an office with really nice technology, but every so often it will just crash. Is there a plan to make sure that there is some in-school support in building staff to know how to troubleshoot some of these systems?
Absolutely. So I would say that we have two teams that support that. So in the Office of Academics, we have a team that supports the effective education technology usage by our teachers, as well as we have a technician team that sits on the district side that has a schedule that rotates through buildings to support daily usage and replacements and support for our students. We also have what we call our educational technology captains in buildings to also help us know what their needs are. So, yep, there's like a concerted effort to make sure that the technologies in buildings are used effectively.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
That's a great question. And as a former teacher, I always appreciate it when tech problems can get addressed quickly. All right. Are there any other questions about the technology going into Buckley and central office? All right. Thank you very much for the information. We will be bringing this up for a vote at the April board meeting. And thank you for joining us, the team representing the architects and the technology firms. Thank you.
And thank you for your
you.
time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Thanks.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Santiago, for pulling up the agenda again. We're now going to hear about some like healthy food certification. And for that, I'll turn it over to Chief Operating Officer Jose Colon.
Thank you. I just want to make sure we're going to skip the previous Parent Square.
Oh, I missed an agenda item. My apologies. Yes, so for Parent Square, I'll turn it over first to Mr. Pedro Zayas. Go ahead.
Thank you, and thank you, Jose, for noticing that. Yes, Parent Square, it's the main tool that we use at the school level and central office to communicate both with staff and families. It also serves for the secure delivery of documents, and it also has multiple languages and offers immediate digital communication through multiple channels. But to really make the presentation, I will leave you with Deb Zimmerman, who has seen firsthand where we were before Parent Square, the transition into Parent Square, and this upcoming contract.
Thanks, Pedro. And thanks, Christina, for doing the slides. Can you all hear me? Awesome. We're really excited to continue our contract with Parent Square for the next year. It's been a game changer for family engagement in our district. And it began as a pilot in 2021, and we were fully implemented by the summer of 2021. Next slide, please. What sets it apart is it's a singular platform that is an opt-in platform. So in other words, excuse me, when you are a family with a student in Hartford Public Schools or a staff member, you are opted into the platform, and it does everything from direct messaging between families and teachers with automated translations in over 120 languages. You can do news posts that are shared according to when people want to send, set their settings to receive them. Of course, it does our emergency communications in a very excellent way, either by text message, voicemail message, again, automated with translations, via email, and those are also translated. We can override any digest settings with our secure smart alerts. We also have a great feature called Secure Docs that's saving our district a lot of money in direct mailing of documents that are secure, like report cards, like attendance reports, progress reports. And it also comes with amazing training and amazing support. Next slide, please. So it's a singular platform that everyone's opted into. You don't need the app to use it, although we have really great rates on people who have downloaded the app for free, either for iPhone or Android. So you get text, email, voice, It's all push. You can set it to receive them at 6 p.m. or get them whenever they're instant. It's also on the web. Next slide, please. And as I mentioned, it's an opt-in platform. So it's perfect that we can have as big a reach as possible. The people who use it are school administrators, nurses, FCSSPs, teachers, and SESs. Just see if there's anything I missed. Oh, and you can reset your language. So all the information is updated nightly from PowerSchool, our SIS for all the students, and from Munis for all our employees and staff. Next slide, please. And I'm just giving a lot of background for anyone who maybe hasn't experienced Parent Square before. But you can all vote right now. If you already know all about Parent Square, you can say, Deb, stop. No. I'll just continue on. So also what sets it apart is we can, like it does utilize SMS text. So that's what sets it apart from other products that are out there. Next slide, please. So you don't need to download the app. It does offer SMS texting, which other platforms like School Messenger don't have. We have a really great download rate of the apps by our family that actually exceeds the national average of app downloads for platforms like this. Next slide, please. Here's like this super cool use you guys are gonna love. There's real-time two-way translation in over 190 languages. So the direct message feature allows teachers to have direct messaging with all of the families of their students. So families can text in the message that their settings are set at, and then the teacher will receive it in the language that they have it set in. When a teacher texts back or messages back in English, it will automatically be translated for the family into the language that they have their settings set at. So it's super brilliant. Next slide, please. We also, in addition to the automated languages, we have like 13 languages that we can edit. So for example, if I send a post and I've actually had a human write a translation in Latin American Spanish for me, I can pop that in there. So you can edit a certain number of the translations. And so we make sure that those align with the top spoken languages in our schools. Next slide, please. So we see like a continuous like growth in our family engagement using Parent Square from year to year to year. So here you can see 22-23, which was our first full school year with the platform, 23-24, 24-25, and the national average. You can see the percentage of students with at least one contactable parent. So that first line is the percentage of our families that we contact via Parent Square. The second line is the percentage of parents who interact with the post or send direct messages. And the next is the percentage of families who have downloaded the app. Next slide, please. We do have a really great percentage of families that are reachable, and we have to keep working on that, you know, and encouraging families to keep their contact information updated with their school office, because it's about information going into PowerSchool, and that's how we get the correct contact information. A third of our schools have 100% to 99% of total reach of their families. Next slide, please. Here you can see like the total, this is like this year, the 24-25 school year. We have over 16,000 students, 3,500 staff and teachers, and over 20,000 parents or guardians in the system and contactable. You can see a high level bar of relative languages used in the platform. Next slide, please. And then you can see the basic reach methods for families, email numbers, and the app. And it has amazing analytics. We can drill down, and if anybody wants, more information, we can get that to you. Next slide, please. And this is an actual breakdown as of today of the parent languages used in the platform. So you can see the very high number of Spanish, and then it goes down to Portuguese, Tamil, Haitian, Creole, Albanian, Burmese, and etc. So it's always really fascinating to take a look at the analytics in Parent Square. Next slide, please. This is another feature that we purchase along with the contract, and 35 of our schools are using secure document delivery. It's used everything from progress reports, invoices, report cards is a biggie, monthly attendance letters for families who might need a little update on how their child is doing with attendance. What it does is saves us a lot of money on mailing. So if 35 of our schools, for example, are sending report cards from one semester or quarter to all of their families, that's $7,300 right there. So multiply that times all of the secure docs that go out, times all the report cards. It's just a great savings. It's very fast, it's immediate, and you can see it generates a report on the side that like direct mail doesn't. You can see who's actually opened it. You can, with one click, you can generate a second mailing just to the people who haven't opened the secure doc. So it's a really great way to engage with our families as well on the really important documents and secure documents that they need to see for their students. Another thing that Parent Square does is attendance. So if you're, it helps us regulate attendance and one-click attendance reports to families about, if their child isn't at school. So these are the numbers for the renewable contract. Last year, it was covered by Title I funds and North Hartford pipeline at 5 of our schools. But that's it. Can we go back to the title slide? Or we can keep it here. By the way, Parent Square does give us a discount. So the first year, for example, they were charging us $6 per student, and now they're giving us a great discount of $4.68 per student, plus the additional $1 for secure documents. So I see Mr. Wilson, you have a question.
Yeah, go ahead. Actually, Mr. Walker's hand was up first, I believe. Let's start with him.
Sorry, Mr. Walker, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Two quick questions. One is about the engagement percentage. You had 98, 97%, and I talk to teachers who have to call parents. They often have bad and wrong numbers. So I'm saying if you guys have figured that out, how to keep up with parents' numbers, then how is that being shared with the school? Because
that's a really great point. And It's definitely something where we need to continually urge our families if they get a new phone, if they move, if they have like a new email address, they need to report that to their school's office. The schools, our school offices manage student information in PowerSchool. That's where the correct information is. So Parent Square receives a nightly download from PowerSchool. So you can't update your information in Parent Square, for example. You have to update it in PowerSchool.
Okay. All right.
So I do think like that, making sure we're getting communications out there to families to remind them. And we used to have posters that we had, up in the school offices. Keep your information current. Let your office know, if you change your phone number or your email. It's definitely really, really important.
Then I guess I'm going to float this as a recommendation, since we're dealing with this as our district-wide tool, for the Parent Square folks to maybe help us create a way that people can report back through Parent Square, because it is where you're reaching them. So I that's just a nice that's a recommendation. I'll leave it there for that. The second question is about
well, can we go back to your first question? Could you clarify that a little more? Like, tell me a little bit more about what
you're saying that right now the parents can't update their information through Parent Square. It has to be updated through PowerSchool, which is like 2 or 3 extra steps. That means, at least when I think of PowerSchool, that means a staff at the school site has to enter it, like an instructional staff, or maybe an administrative staff at a school site or something like that, maybe at a welcome center. But at that point, I can see why there's a disconnect, because people probably don't take that extra step, where I'm imagining if you could send them a reminder through Parent Square and they could be like, oh yeah, I just moved, here's my number. And that number could, if not go back to Parent Square, it could go back to a party that could then update Parent Square. Update PowerSchool. Do you know if you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think so. It's definitely
but right now it's not quite there. So that's my wish list thing. If they could turn themselves in and could go back to a person on our side who could grab the information, then update PowerSchool, I think it would be an easier, less painful way for that data to be captured.
we can, and schools can also in their admin and their data dashboards on Parent Square generate a list of families for whom they don't have contact information, or the contact information isn't working. So they can generate a list right there in the school. And it's such a great thing to remind people of in parent teacher conferences, for example, like the ones coming up on the 22nd, and have that list for those families as they walk in the school and say, Mr. Burns, like, we need your email address, that's
I
like
gotcha.
another great way to do it.
My second question is about the persistent alternative. There are teachers who still swear by Classroom Dojo. And I get Parent Squares can be our district tool. Is there any type of funding or support that allows teachers that like using Classroom Dojo to be able to maintain their subscription to Classroom Dojo, for their own classroom management purposes? How does that work?
Well, just gonna be honest, we don't encourage it. We know some people love Classroom Dojo and it doesn't integrate with Parent Square. Remind does integrate with Parent Square. They're actually co-owned right now.
Which one does?
Remind.
Okay.
It's like another similar app. So we actually encourage our staff and teachers, like, please don't use Classroom Dojo, use the direct messaging tools in Parent Square because everything is integrated. Let's not have, let's try to get everything, on the same platform and integrated.
I think that makes sense, but when I look at it, like Classroom Dojo has a classroom management feature that teachers will like, in terms of giving kids like pluses and minuses, or And so I understand why it has a value. Now the Remind thing may be another option. I don't know how Remind would work. And it would be interesting to maybe test and see if Classroom Dojo teachers would actually find that two-way communication to be satisfactory. That would be if this year is there a way to get those folks to kind of try it and give us some feedback as to what they think about that.
We could definitely try. Yeah. I like what you're saying.
Ms. Davis-Googe, did you have something to chime in on that?
Yeah, I did. I just wanted to share that we also use Parent Square for transportation notification and have great results of families getting their information in a timely manner. And I know that schools are encouraged, right? When they send their messages out, they'll get a report of which families did not receive the message or the number didn't work. So they do rely on those reports to connect with the family to, get the contact information updated. So I just wanted to also share that we use it for transportation, and it has certainly, as Deb said earlier, increased our engagement and our communication with our families. And transportation is a good example of that.
Thank you, Sherry. Yeah. Thank you so much for bringing that up. That's a really great point. And it is crucial to the operations of our school district. And I also want to mention that we create custom lists for summer school or other programs that we run so we can communicate with students, at a specific location that are registered for a specific program that we're holding.
Thank you. Now to Mr. Wilson, go ahead.
Much appreciated. Thank you for the presentation. Could we go back to the percentage slide of parents that we have emails, one custodial parent, we have email or phone number for versus the amount that have downloaded the app. I just wanted some clarification on that slide.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Christina.
Do you know what number? Sorry, let me just finding it. Give me a
I
second.
believe it was the very first grid.
Was it slide 10, I think?
Oh, I think 7. Hold on. Was it this one?
Nope.
No.
So I think it was after that. It was specifically calling out, it said 98% or 96% of students we had from a custodial parent, we had either an email or a working phone number from.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Oh,
So, yep, this is it. So just clarification, the 98% number is just contact information from our parents, from our families that we have for the students that we're automatically uploading into Parent Square, not necessarily because I know you said there's a web-based version and then there's the app version. Do we have any numbers, or maybe I'm not reading this correctly, numbers on parents that have actually, whether they have downloaded the app or logged in outside of the app? Do we have any numbers on that?
Yes, we do have very detailed numbers on how families are using Parent Square, and so 46% of our current families have downloaded the app.
Mhm.
And yeah, we do have analytics on who is using it, like on every single post or smart alert that we send out. We can get analytics and extremely granular to see exactly who's opened it, when they opened it. So we do have very, very deep analytics down to the individual for each mode of usage.
Okay, so
Yeah,
we
thanks,
do have.
Christina.
Yeah, so okay. Much appreciated. Okay. I really think that the Parent Square is a great tool to communicate with parents. I've found it very useful in getting report cards from my kids, notifications, as well as reaching out to teachers to answer any questions. So I guess my next question, last one, is surrounding how we sort of manage the correspondence between teachers and parents. I know that teachers can be busy, but what does it look like from the teacher side of things where a parent messages them? Are they instructed to get back to the parent within, by the end of the day, within 24 hours? How is that managed and tracked?
I would need to get back to you on that and look into the management, by school administrators.
Yeah, because I mean that could come directly from HPS, or it could be handled by individual principals. Maybe someone else could answer if we have anything in place like that.
Thank you. Yeah, we haven't had any reports of people being dissatisfied with the direct messaging with their teacher, but we do have some teachers that are really happy with the communications that they have with their families.
So yeah, my question wasn't centered around satisfaction, more around ensuring that that the parents, as they reach out through the app, that they're getting back in a timely fashion, and what that looks like for a teacher, and ensuring that their messages are being read and responded to in a timely manner. So I'm asking, maybe someone else could, if we know of anything, of any correspondences that have been sent out to the teachers to say, hey, all messages within Parent Square should be responded to within 24 hours, relative to the parent sending the message.
I know that there is yearly training on the platform for each kind of stakeholder who's using the platform.
So there's no standard sent across the district
I imagine
for
there's
teachers.
very much like in the same way that we understand that we should, it's like our ways of work where you make sure you answer your emails within 48 hours. I do it within 24 hours, but we can look into that.
Okay,
and
so
get
is
back
it,
to you.
so is there I'm sorry, I don't mean to belabor the point. So it is an email that comes into their regular email, or is they have a Parent Square app themselves to which they need to check regularly?
It's either in the web-based version or in the app. It's simultaneous.
For the teacher?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And Ms. Santiago in the chat has mentioned that we'll follow up with the Office of Schools, who would have better knowledge of the sort of management structure and expectations around those communications.
Yeah, thank you so much.
More to come. But yeah, it's a good question. Mr. Wilson, are you all set for now?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. Mr. Stoliger, you have a question?
Yes, actually, not really. I have more of a comment, a couple of comments with regards to Parent Square. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, we
So,
can.
I wanted to say that I use Parent Square as a parent and as a teacher. And I absolutely love Class Dojo as well. With regards to Parent Square and parent communication, from teacher to parent, there's a messaging, and I want to just answer that question as a teacher. There's with the teacher hat, there's a sign, it'll let you know when you sent your message. It'll let you know if the message has been read. It all just like text messaging, but it also lets you know if the message was sent a day ago, 2 days ago, and it lets you respond to the parent or whoever. There's also a component where the teacher can also send a message to the parent and copy the administrators as well. So it's a great, way of communicating. Another feature that Parent Square has, which is really nice, is say if you have a book fair that's happening in your school or some type of activity, there's a sign up area where a feature rather, where teachers can actually sign their classes up for certain events or activities that are going to be taking place. Another beautiful feature that Parent Square has is if you download the app once, you can actually utilize Parent Square. It works with multiple districts, so it kind of syncs into your phone where it's Hartford Public Schools or it's in another district, but you can have that all in one app. So, and also, receiving notifications about, school, the buses being late or buses arriving, or if something is happening with weather, traffic, dismissals, whatever the case may be. So, I think that's also a great feature. Not that I'm just, I'm just really advocating for that. And going back to Classroom Dojo, Board Member Walker, you talked about the awards, kind of like, there are little medals that can be given out. So that's a lot of extrinsic motivation, and what would tend to happen is kids would kind of like get so involved and so concerned about the rewards that it would kind of, not overshadow, but it would take over as opposed to just the communication. So, yeah, I wanted to just add those things.
Thank you very much. Are there any
you so
remaining
much.
questions on the Parent Square contract? Yes, one question from you, Mrs. Strada-Perez. Go ahead.
Thank you. I just have a question, and I'm guessing the answer to this is there's some security. And just because there's a section of it where you're sharing important confidential and important information about students, it sounds like. I'm assuming that they are responsible for the data security of all of those documents, is double encrypted, and it has the necessary things needed to protect those documents. And is the liability held with the district? Is the liability held with the company? Like, how does that part of like sharing sensitive information in the age of technology, like who?
Thank you for the question. We'll need to get back to you with an answer on that.
Thank you.
All right. In the interest of time, we'll move on. I know there's more to do, and our time is running somewhat short, but now I believe we can turn it over to the very patient and ready Chief Operating Officer Jose Colon. Go ahead.
Hello, everyone. And thank you again, Jose Colon, Chief Operating Officer. So tonight, we come before the committee to present and provide information primarily on the annual Healthy Food Certification. The Healthy Food Certification requires that each Board of Education for any public school that's participating in the National School Lunch Program, that they certify annually to the Connecticut State Department of Education, whether the school will follow the Connecticut nutrition standards for all foods to students that are participating in the program. And so we're also going to take the opportunity tonight to provide just a high-level general overview of food services, just to be able to provide, some basic information for the committee to arm yourselves with information that I know a lot of times comes before you at, in larger meetings. And so to do that, we have two amazing district leaders, Elaine Gagliotti and Christopher Scapetta, who head up the food service and nutrition services, who are going to take us through a great and hopefully very informative presentation. So here we go.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to come in front of you here and talk about, most importantly, the healthy food certification, which Chris will get to later. But before we do that, I just wanted to give you a very brief background of our department as a whole and who we are and what we do here in the district. So if we want to go to our first slide, please. And I just want to give you an overview of our staff. We have a wonderful staff here. We're very proud of our staff. We have 254 employees. 227 are out in the schools, in the kitchens, and 27 central office based. Of those 254 staff members, 201 of them are Hartford residents themselves, many of them parents of our students. In our central office, we try to make sure that we have very well qualified people here. We have 2 licensed dietitians. We have 5 people that work in our central office that have been in the hospitality industry for over 25 years. 7 people who have culinary arts degree, and our newest addition last year was someone that we put into a farm to school coordinator, because that's a big push for us, so that we ensure that we have plenty of fresh fruits and vegetables for our students. So that's a look at who our employees are, and they really, as a whole, pride themselves on going above and beyond for our students every day. They take their jobs very seriously, and they really want to make sure that they are looking out for the best interests of our students every day when they come to work. So here's just some statistics of what we serve on a daily basis, and where we serve them. In a year, that it amounts to over 4 million meals each year. All of our meals are served in many locations: breakfast, lunch, supper, and snack in the afternoon, and we serve in the summer. We do also, besides Hartford Public School students, we also serve some magnet and charter schools. We do the 3 Jamoki locations, Achievement First. We do the correct Montessori school over near HMTCA, and some High Road students. So in addition to Hartford Public students, we're also servicing some other students through interschool agreements. Next slide, please. So I want, in the next few slides, I just want to talk about some of the initiatives and tools that we utilize in order to ensure that we can serve those 4 million meals with good quality, and always making sure that we strive to be better as we do. The first initiative is very important to us, and it's our Farm to School initiative. Chris is going to go over later, when he's talking about healthy food and the USDA regulations. He's going to go over what needs to be on every student's tray, and the one thing that needs to be on every tray as the student goes through the line is a fruit or a vegetable at each meal. And so, in order to make sure that we are serving fruits and vegetables that are appealing to our students, so that they're not looking at a canned green bean or a fruit cocktail out of a can, is we really put a lot of emphasis on fresh fruits and vegetables that are local, so that it appeals to them and they will actually consume them. So listed here are some of the farms and some of the organizations that we work with. We have a partnership and a grant through Keeney Park, where local farmers will sometimes grow herbs and things like that we can then put into some of our recipes. Micro to Life is an organization that grows some collard greens for us that we have on our menu. In the fall, Rogers Orchard, Beckett Family Farm will bring us apples and pears when they're in season, and then we send them right out to the schools. They come here directly from the farm, and we send them out on our trucks. The picture that you're looking at That man's name is Joe Tchaikovsky, and he is just over the border into Massachusetts. The rest of these are all within Connecticut, but he's right over the border in Massachusetts. And he grows some fall items for us, like carrots and parsnips and butternut squash, things like that, and makes a mixed medley for us that we serve in the fall a lot and throughout the year. Food for Thought is a new hydroponic lettuce facility that's in Torrington. And so we have gone to using only that hydroponic lettuce in our schools, and they grow it year round, and we make our chef salads and little side salads for the students with that lettuce. Oxen Hill Farm is our newest, and they actually are growing callaloo for us, and they're also going to do some different types of peppers that will then go to the people at Keeney Park, and they will make us their own sofrito that we use in a lot of our recipes that we have on our menu. So these are just some of the ways that we are utilizing local farms and farmers to help us to get very fresh and appealing looking fruits and vegetables on the serving lines and on the trays of our students. Next slide, please. Another tool or initiative that we have is some various grants that we work on. I'm just going to go through a few of them quickly. I talked about the Keeney Park project already. The Hartford Public Library has a grant that we partnered with them on, where they are taking new citizens that come from other countries and want to get into the workforce and giving them training on how to interview and fill out applications. And we are helping them, train them in sanitation classes, and also bringing them into our schools to work once they meet the requirements. We also partnered with a dairy council in order to get smoothies for all of our secondary schools that we offer as an option against a hot lunch a few days a week, so that if they don't like the hot lunch item, among other options, we also have a smoothie. And then equipment grants, we consistently look for equipment grants that we can get some nice equipment that helps us. We have a facility that right now is on Cornwall Street, where we can flash freeze and vacuum seal for fruits and vegetables. So in the summer, when all the farmers are growing the items and we're not in session, we can get them flash frozen and vacuum sealed, and then send them out to the schools during the school year, because they stay for a long time and they stay looking really bright and colorful on the line. So those are the kind of equipment purchases that we'll make with those grants. Next slide, please. For us, we want to listen to our students. We can't make our food what they want it unless we have feedback from them. So we're consistently looking for ways to engage with them. And listed here are some of the ways. Taste tests each year when we go out to bid for all of our food items. There's 10 different vendors of pizza. A few years back, we went to one of the high schools, and the kids could taste all the different kinds of pizza, and then they would rate them, and that way we knew we were purchasing the one that the majority of the students liked best. Last month at HMTCA, we brought a new item that we were thinking of adding to our menu, a vegetarian chili, and had the students test it there to sit down with them and talk about it while they're eating it, if they liked it and if it's a good thing to add to the menu. We do surveys, roundtable discussions with them. We've invited them into the school kitchens to see what the equipment looks like and how we work in the kitchen. In the past, we've had family food shows, and something new we did this year is we were thinking, the students come through the line, and some of the schools where there's a lot of people working, they may not even know who's in charge, or they may not feel comfortable to speak up if there's something they don't like, or something they like a lot, or something they want to see. So we're making sure that our managers are hanging signs up on the serving lines with a picture of themselves and introducing themselves. Hey, come and talk to me if you have any feedback or you have any issues that you want to talk, so that they're comfortable to discuss what they may want to see on the menu with managers right at the school location. So those are just a few of the ways that we continue to keep up on the beat of what it is that our students want to keep them happy with our menus. And then this slide really just pointing out not every school has its own full service kitchen. There are small groups of students who are in buildings or locations where there may not be a kitchen at all. So we have to find ways to get food to them. We're not going to just drop off sandwiches because they don't have a kitchen there. So we have come up with ways to make food, hot food, the exact same food that every other school is getting, and make sure that those students that are in these buildings that don't have kitchens are getting the exact same food. And so, every day in the middle of the day, wherever they are on their route that they do every day, they have to stop at lunchtime and make sure that food is transported in most cases around the city, but even, with Great Path going to Manchester, because the students over there, there is no kitchen there. So in order to give them the food that all the rest of our students in Hartford are getting, we have to make sure that we're making it in one place and moving it. So this is, some of the locations that we are moving food to. The Cornwall location packages, they take these same foods, package them, and make sure that those students are getting them. So I want to wrap it up, my part with this, and now Chris is going to introduce himself and give you some of the guidelines.
Evening, board members. Like I said, my name is Chris Capetta, one of the dietitians and one of the directors here at Hartford Public Schools Food Service Department. So just try to give you a little quick overview of the nuts and bolts of the USDA program. First off, not a lot of people are familiar with this. The National School Breakfast and Lunch Program are actually programs within the Department of Defense. USDA is just tasked with overseeing and administrating programs. I bring that up also because we have a secondary program that we use to feed the kids after the bell. That's through the Child and Adult Care Program. That is also, so that one is not Department of Defense. That falls under the Food and Nutrition Services, which is a branch of USDA. So when you hear us talk about some of the regulations, it's where it gets a little complicated because they're separated programs doing the same thing, but they have different applications, I would say, after the bell. Those are meals after school hours. The important thing is, we are self-operated, self-funded program. We operate off of the reimbursement rates that we receive for each meal that we serve. Funding is contingent on meals being served. We submit these claims and reports to the state every month, and then we are reimbursed based on how many meals only that we serve. One quick takeaway from this, the USDA Commodity Program is a small program that helps to also provide funding for us. That's part of the National School Lunch Program, and then a part of that program itself, we're also able to use some of our commodity entitlement dollars that we get based on meals that we serve in this unprocessed fruit and vegetable pilot that allows us to purchase fruits and vegetables at a great rate from vendors, from national-based vendors, allowing us to push that produce into our schools. Next slide, please. All right, just a quick bounce. This is just a quick overview of our budget. Like I said, we are self-funded by this, and as you can see, we work on a very tightrope. 50% of our budget goes into the food and the paper supplies that we use within the organization, and then the other half goes to fringe and our benefits, or wages, I should say, in our fringe. Equipment purchase and repairs makes about 3.5%, and our building expense about 1.5%. So that's the tricky part is, if we have major equipment breakdowns, failures or something, or a compressor on top of a school needs to be replaced, and we have to replace that. That obviously we don't carry a huge budget for that, but we make it all work. Next slide, please. So healthy food certification. So that's the thing we're here talking about tonight. So in a very quick summary of this certification looks at items sold to kids on school premises during the school day. And that's the big key here. It's specifically those items, and those items fall outside of the National School Lunch and Breakfast program. So outside when we're doing breakfast, outside when we're doing lunch. It's not to say our meals don't follow the same regulations, they do. And so items that are sold to students, if you agree to the healthy food certification, items that are sold to students must abide by the Connecticut nutrition standards. And so that accounts for vending machines, if you have a school store, if you have a food truck that you say, well, I want to drop a food truck up to the school and have the kids buy food, bake sales, anything, even into fundraisers, any type of sale like that would constitute falling underneath the healthy food certification. So that's where it falls under the competitive foods, basically. The other side is beverages. What beverages can be sold to schools? By approving healthy food certification, this eliminates things like coffee, soda, teas. Those are the three biggest items that we look to eliminate from the students being sold into that at school. So basically, you think about the Coca-Cola machine, not having those machines inside the schools where kids can access them. And what we receive by taking part in the healthy food certification is a 10 cents per every lunch served, which for us represents about $230,000, which what that equates to give you an example, that turns into about 3 to 4 months of fresh fruits and vegetables that we consumption that we use inside our district. Next slide. So just quickly, so our dietary guidelines that we follow for the National School Lunch Program and Breakfast Program, they stem from the dietary guidelines for Americans. This gets reevaluated every 5 years, and we're coming up to that mark right now. They'll be publishing a new set of dietary guidelines. And so if there are major changes in there, those changes would eventually fall down into National School Lunch and Breakfast Program. So, this looks at calorie intake, daily serving sizes, limits, and sugar intake, saturated fat, all the nutrients that we consume every single day. Next slide, please. So for the National School Lunch Program, so when we look at the National School Lunch, there are 3 items, or 3 components, I should say, that have to be served every single day for us to run the National School Breakfast Program. That's a fluid milk, a fruit. In this case, at breakfast time, fruits and vegetables are considered the same category, and then grains. Grains have to be offered every single day. There is new legislation coming out that's added the protein component to breakfast. We're waiting to get the full guidance on that from USDA, but that is something that's new and coming into the future that we are planning to adjust our breakfast offerings based on that. But the important thing to see here is when we're thinking about breakfast, every now and then we get a question about waste that comes up because we're feeding from our serving lines, we're feeding from the carts, we're feeding in the classrooms. Often what we run into is when we're feeding from our carts or our classrooms, and to ensure that kids are getting a reimbursable meal. It's the teachers or whoever we're working with, the complaint is having the kids go through each one and try to select between different items. It takes time, and they're looking for speed through these processes. So what we often do is bundle 2 of the components that we know they're going to need to make a reimbursable meal together. The students always then have the option then of the fruit and the milk, and then the breakfast itself, and then we'll put together a couple of varieties of breakfast packages for them to choose from each day. But on top of that, we do offer hot breakfast 2 days a week. The National School Lunch Program, there's a 5 component. We'll show you the whole component breakdown in the next slide. There's a lot of things there, but the point we're trying to highlight here is we prepare school meals every single day. Any kitchen that has a full kitchen, we are operating in every single day. Our satellite locations, like Elaine said, we are satelliting food to them, whether it's bulk or individually wrapped items that we're serving, but it's all the same food that the kids get from even the recipes that we create. It's the same meal through all of our schools now. So the 5 components that make up lunch: proteins, whole grains, fruits, vegetables, and milk. A student must take at least 3 of those components, and it has to be the whole component. So if it's a hard roll or a burger bun, but the kid doesn't want the burger, they would have to take the whole burger bun to make that grain accreditation if they choose that. That's just to give you the overview. But like I said, of the 3 components, one has to be a fruit or a vegetable. Now, when we're looking at our the meals and how we menu things. So below are the calorie intake, the saturated fat, the sodium intake, and the trans fat requirements. Those are the four biggest ones that usually govern what we can put on our menu and how we're menuing those items in a week. And so what you're looking at is our averages for an entire week, and that's every item served. So that's cold options included in a day, the hot, the cold options averaged together, and then average throughout the week must fall into those categories for our meals. You can go to the next slide. So the full meal pattern is this. So each day, a child must be offered a milk, fruit, a vegetable, a whole grain, and a meat. The vegetable, then we have a requirement that each week a child must see at least one dark leafy green. So that's anything from kale, green leaf lettuce, red leaf lettuce. They don't count things like iceberg lettuce. That doesn't count. It has to be a dark leafy green. Broccoli would count in that category, even though it's not leaf. Your red oranges, you're talking about your carrots, you're talking about parsnips, turnips, things like that, butternut squash. Your beans, those are a little more self-explanatory, any type of legume. Starchy vegetables, those can be your potatoes, and then your other. Okay, next slide. And so types of service, so we serve a hot supper, a cold supper, and a snack. So after the bell, we work with our different schools, we work with our community locations to set up the programs. We try to find where the kids are going and aggregating and try to get and make sure we have a meal service going to those programs. And then below are just some of the community partners that we work with. And that's it for me. If there's any questions, we're happy to answer.
Just before we move on, the slide before that lists it, as you notice, it lists the different amount of calories by grade level. And so I just wanted to point out that it's important to note that as the students get older, we are offering more food to them based on their grade levels. We have to. And so although the item may be the same on an elementary, middle, and high school level menu, we're giving more. If it's a chicken tender, they get more of them. They can take 2 fruits every day, and most of the high schoolers do. I mean, they would take 3 or 4. We have watermelon, grapes, strawberries, oranges, apples. So they love the fruit, and they generally do. So as long as a student is taking what is offered, then their plate would be very full. It would be very full. And we make sure that we adhere to these guidelines. We have to, in order to make sure that there is enough food as you go from kindergarten to middle school and then high school.
All right. Thank you for providing so much information. And I recognize that we are running past time here. So just a couple things. If you want to ask any questions and have them on record, by all means do so. I'm hoping that board members are willing to stick around at the very least for the next item on the agenda as well, which is the report on summer programming. If you just have like a quick question and don't mind it getting answered offline, you can feel free to email that question to me, and then I'll follow up with the proper folks and get back to you. So that's an option as well if you have a question. But as long as we're willing to stay on, I appreciate everyone's patience and bearing with it as we absorb this important information. So Mr. Walker, go ahead with your question.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. First, thank you for the presentation, very comprehensive. And I think my questions are probably for the assistant director. So, but both can answer. One is about the fluid milk. I visited a couple of schools and they only have dairy milk. And I don't drink dairy milk at this point in my life. And I've been scratching around this. It appears now that the State Department of Education allows a soy or an oat milk alternative. So do we offer it at Hartford now?
We do. We actually put out a lot of soy milk in Hartford. I tried to introduce oat milk when I first started here a year ago, and the kids actually turned against it. They were like, "We hate it. We don't want it." We tried. We put a good forth effort, and at the end of the day, we had boxes of it in our warehouse, and we said, "No more. We can't do it anymore." So we're
I get
back to
that.
soy. The kids love it, so we do.
All right.
Yeah.
Is it at every school now?
Yeah, and so specifically, soy can only be served to students that have an allergy or something like that. That is the downside. So I'm not allowed. So if a student doesn't have an allergy to it, I'm not allowed to make that substitute for just in front of a milk. They would have to
Then
opt for the
all right,
milk.
then let me lift that up because that does feel like milk mafia. So can we? Yeah, I just want to elevate that, find a way to lift that up because there's no intrinsic health to dairy milk, and every other place on the planet Earth, people get that option, and because it looks like, and that's it. The reason I'm lifting it up is what the assistant director says. We get this credit if we have that meal, that nutritional program met, but it appears we only get the money if we actually serve milk every day, and I would like to maybe have a way to at least investigate. Can we figure out who to nudge? So I'll leave that there.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm saying that because that's kind of beyond the scope of this, and I'd be happy to deal with that offline. We'll have some offline conversation because you can't fix that today. The one that I wanted to elevate is a pet peeve that I've heard from teachers, that you do an excellent job of getting the food on the plates or trays. But students report or teachers report a significant number of items end up in the garbage. And I'm just trying to figure out, is there any human way that we could reroute these items and give without breaking the law, and because you have a lot of packaged things that just get tossed away and they're still packaged, and so I just looked it up to see if there's a possibility. Then I'd like to try to explore, investigate how to partner with people so we can get the stuff that they refuse to consume to go to somebody who will.
So a few things that I can just say quickly that we work on. Well, to start, there used to be share tables. The health department frowns upon it. I mean, once a student touches their food, it shouldn't be given to another student. And there's rules around sanitation, like temperature control and everything else. And then that's a reason why you can't just put it on a table and have someone else eat it later. So what we do is work with, like, we make sure our cashiers aren't telling kid, take a milk, take a milk, take a milk. If they don't have to, if they don't want the milk, if they're going to just take it and throw it out. And then we encourage them to only take, as long as they're taking the 2 items at breakfast or the 3 out of the 5 at lunch, don't take anything you don't want. The one thing would be, it has to be a fruit or a vegetable, but it's not the fruit that's ending up in the garbage. I think some of it, if it's packaged items, it's breakfast items. And so we are looking at ways to minimize how many different things that they have, and to minimize how many people are getting that breakfast kit, like in the carts and in the classroom, because that's where a lot of the waste is. And those are the wrapped items. At lunchtime, we really don't have wrapped items. So I'm assuming these wrapped items are at breakfast time, and we got to work on that and try to get the kids through the serving lines instead, and limit the amount of options.
Well, here's the two that I'll lift up to you are craisins, right? And the other ones are wrapped apples. And all that I'm asking is it physically possible for those kind of items to have a recycle bin, and students could just throw it in the recycle bin? Don't give it to another student. Don't serve it at school. Work with a third-party agency who could easily pick it up and say, "Oh, there's somebody who would eat this." That's all I'm lifting up as a possibility for some
You
future
can talk to the
consideration.
health director. I can talk to the health director about that.
Okay.
Okay. Board member Estrada Perez, go ahead.
Thank you. I know that we're short on time, so I'm happy to have this discussion here, but I'm also happy to table it for later, but I wanted to say it for the record. Because you guys did say that a lot of your funding comes from USDA, and we know that there has been a cancellation of $1 billion for particularly the Local Foods for Schools Cooperative Agreement Program, which we're a part of. And out of those $1 billion, $600 million is going to be a cut in terms of that food program. Do we foresee that there's going to be an issue with that in Hartford? And if so, what are some of the mitigations? As we're having these conversations about budgeting and these programs that we have actively, we're not separate from the national infrastructure that's happening, dismantling of the infrastructure that's happening right now. So how does that affect the funding to be able to do this program at the local Hartford?
So I think that's definitely a question better answered at another time. I can give you more information on that. It is ever changing. I can tell you that. I'm part of our professional group that follows legislative action and changes and everything, and we have a lot of questions that we're following and monitoring very closely. I can say that.
Now, I'll just add that we are aware and super sensitive to those changes and the possible impact or effects that they may have. So we've been engaging in just conversations around, what those possibilities are, specifically with the partners at the State Department of Ed and getting their guidance in support of sort of setting the supports now for because our families it's the same things, even some of our families are feeling you hear it on the news and sometimes it gets thrown out there specifically with the school and school lunch and meals for cities throughout. And so completely aware and definitely in front of it. So, but more to come.
Thank you for that clarity. And the reason I say that here is because I know a lot of people have their eyes on it, but I also want to make sure that we're having that conversation publicly, because it is a way that we can expand the edification of not just ourselves, but our communities about what is going on nationally and how that impacts locally and what it is that we're doing to mitigate some of those issues. So I appreciate all of that and looking forward to continuing that conversation.
Yeah, thank you for lifting that up. And Chief Colon, if there's any information that that you learned that's shareable that you want to include board members on, feel free to pass that on to Christina, and she'll pass it on to us. And thanks for first of all for keeping track of all that. I know that's not easy, and thanks for looping us in once you do learn anything. All right, Mr. Stolledger, go ahead.
Thank you so much. I have a question with regards to something to think about with regards to the wasting of the food, if you will. Has the district thought about composting? Because composting would, as a Montessorian, in a lot of Montessori classrooms and other types of classrooms, composting can be incorporated and has been incorporated. And what happens is the students they'll start to see where the uneaten food is going, where the waste is actually going. And it tends to make them a bit more conscious and mindful and educated about, wasting food. So I know that there are composting places in the city of Hartford, which, I know would be more than happy to educate. It's a very educational experience, actually. So is there something that could be, maybe incorporated or have a conversation about composting? Because that's definitely something that could help.
Yeah, so actually there is legislation, and actually it is law. Chris has been going that July of 26, it's going to be mandatory if a school produces a certain amount of waste and if you're within a certain mile radius of the closest composting place. Chris knows a lot more about it than I do.
We're working closely with the DEEP department and to develop our plan for what that's going to look like for the upcoming years and into the
Awesome.
future.
That's great to hear. I know that they're in Hartford. I know there's Blue Earth composting, which I've visited their facility. Very amazing. They even compost Play-Doh, if you will, like so many different things. But I'm glad to hear that, because there's, children can be, and adults can be educated on composting. And once you compost in the schools, then it kind of like transfers into the homes, and, it helps the earth. It helps just to, we make a little contribution. That's all.
Yeah.
Lots of fans of compost on the board, apparently. I'm also a big fan of compost. It's good to know.
Hooker they have a big vat out where the chickens are there. They have a composting setup, if you will, if anyone's interested in seeing it.
Great. I have two quick questions about the certification process. One is when did that start, and for how many years has Hartford pursued that certification?
I would have to check in our file. See, I can tell you it's been at
least
10 years. Yeah, this has been going on for a while now. They've introduced this.
And Hartford has participated
Yes.
has participated for roughly the last 10 years.
Yes.
Okay.
Every year that it's been in existence. Yes.
Okay. I think that's my last question then. All right. Any last questions about the food services stuff? Great. Well, thank you very much for joining and sharing wonderful information. We learned so much on this committee. I really appreciate the different sectors that come on.
Thank you all. Thank you all for giving us a chance to speak with you.
Okay. And again, thank you for hanging on the call for a while. We have two more chunks on the agenda. Next up is, I think I'm turning it back over to, is this for you, Ms. Hooker?
Correct.
Great. To do an overview of the summer program.
Yes, thank you, Board Member Tatum. So we wanted to take an opportunity this month to present an overview of our summer programming as we see it so far here at the district. And I have with me two colleagues that will support the presentation. I have Erin Doyle, and I believe I still have Ms. Liliana Cuevas on the call with me as well. And what we're going to do is just provide an overview of specific information on where we are in our summer planning to allow for any questions that you may have. Next slide, please. I will hand this part over to Erin Doyle.
Good evening, everybody. So we're going to go over some of the kind of higher level logistics of where we are with summer programming. It is continuing to evolve, so this is kind of a snapshot of where we are. We are currently offering 3 programs during the summer. We have an early start program, which is our traditional summer program for students currently in grades K through 3. We offer our ESY program for students who receive ESY or extended school year services as part of their IEP. And then we offer credit recovery for our students in grades 9 through 12 who have credits to recover. All of our programs this year are going to run July 7th through August 1st. That's 4 full weeks or 20 days, Monday through Friday. And ESY and Early Start follow very similar program hours, which is 8:15 to 12:15. And then for Early Start, we offer an afternoon enrichment program with community organizations until 3:30 at the school site. And we really focus on reading and writing, math, and social emotional learning. The ESY program also works towards IEP goals and objectives that are specific to individual students and their education plans. Credit recovery also runs July 7th through August 1st. The time is a little different because kids start a little bit earlier, but they're able to recover 2 credits worth of classes during the 20 instructional days. And that is in really any, we offer classes that are really tied to the course requirements for graduation. And you can see at the bottom, those are our registration deadlines. So we work on ensuring that we can have our students registered in time for the program to start and to make sure that we can provide transportation in a timely way. I should note that early start programming is offered for students who are falling below the proficiency in the spring DIBELS assessment, which is our benchmark assessment that we take 3 times a year. Next slide, please. So these are our sites and the zones that those sites are attributed to. You can see that in that first column, we say 1 through 4 because it's early start. So it's an early start for students as they're moving into the next grade level ahead. For zones 1 and 2, we are collapsing those 2 zones so that they are together. One site is Breakthrough North, and that will house Breakthrough North, Rawson, Montessori at Annie Fisher, and STEM at Annie Fisher students. And the other zone 1 and 2 school is Global, which will be Global, West Middle, Webster, Sand, and Wish. Zone 3 also has 2 sites, that's Sanchez and ESM, or Environmental Studies at Mary Hooker. And you can see the schools that are associated with each of those sites. And then Zone 4 will be housed at Belize, which will house Belize, Naylor, MD Fox, Kinsella, and Betances. We're also working with our multilingual learner department, and they are looking to provide additional bilingual instruction for students in the bilingual programs at the 2 sites, Sanchez and Belize. We know that parents really count on having some afternoon programmatic piece in order to provide a full day of both academics and enrichment to students, and we've learned that those enrichment opportunities are best served right on site where the students are taking their academic classes. And so we've been working with our community partners to identify which partnerships can support each site for that afternoon programming piece. So Breakthrough North is to be determined, although we are having a tentative partnership right now with the YMCA. Global will have PALS, that's right on site. They take over the other half of the Global building. And then Sanchez will have a combination of the Hispanic Health Council and Catholic Charities. Environmental Sciences will have OpMad, and Belize will have CBO programming provided by the Village. And all those programs end at 3:30. ESY follows a very similar footprint for students that are currently in grades K through 3, in that they attend an early start site in order to receive their extended school year services. Students that are in grades 4 and up will, and any programmatic students, those students in iGoals and STEP, would all go to MLK. And then students that are Hartford residents but attend school out of district also are assigned times in which they attend their ESY programming, and that will also be housed at MLK. And then lastly, Credit Recovery has 2 sites, that's Weaver and Hartford High. And then we also house RISE at Hartford High. They take Credit Recovery and they receive support from their special education teacher. And the Student Support and Success Centers at Weaver and Hartford High will also be open for a few weeks prior to the start of Credit Recovery for students that are receiving supports through the centers so that they can continue their Edgenuity classes and receiving the supports that the program provides. And thank you. And then in addition to what we are providing from the academic and enrichment component, we also have other community organizations that are providing services or programming for our students that are not attending Early Start or ESY or Credit Recovery. And so we have Catholic Charities in the Village that are partnering to provide some services, enrichment services, full day for our students in grades 6 through 8. We also have Camp KO, Camp Current, Boys and Girls Club, and Oakwood Sports Centers, which are all providing services to the students in those grades that are listed, and those are off-site programs. And we are continuing to seek out other opportunities to be able to add to our afternoon programming piece to make sure that we can provide as comprehensive a program as possible for as many students as we possibly can. And then our last slide is just what the school day looks like for students. So you can see on the left is our K-3 Early Start program and what the student schedule looks like and what the teacher schedule looks like. Teachers are, they work 4 1/3 hours a day during Early Start, and they do receive planning time as part of that, and professional development and onboarding prior to the start of the Early Start program so that they are familiar with any curricular materials. And then for Credit Recovery, there's also that planning time as well as professional learning prior to support teachers with the curriculum that happens during Credit Recovery.
So we wanted to bring this information to you today just to be able to share with you some of the programmatics and logistics that we have been able to solidify so far, as well as the partnerships that we are currently working on. And as we solidify and get additional secure programming, we will provide a follow-up presentation later in the year. We are open to any questions that you may have at this time.
Thank you very much. One question that I have is the summer programming budgeted as part of the prior school year, or is it part of the upcoming budget?
So it is, because it starts after July 1st, it is part of the upcoming school year. Early Start is a program that we are required to provide for our K-3 students, and that is partially grant funded through, I believe, our priority school funding. And Credit Recovery is a program that is funded by the district.
And the enrichment piece is fully funded by the CBOs.
Okay. So when, for example, in the budget conversations, we've talked about how some of those, like after school programming through the community-based organizations is at this point dependent on receiving more revenue from state funding. That does not include summer programming because the summer programming is fully funded by those, like what you've talked about providing here in the afternoons is fully funded by those organizations.
So yes and no. This year, we have been able to have conversations with our community-based organizations, and we started our conversations in the month of November. We started having discussions around lessons learned from the year before, as well as any opportunities that they would be able to partner with us and write any grants or anything that they could support us as a district, because I had already envisioned that we would have some financial constraints. And we really, as a district, wanted to ensure that we really didn't impact what summer could look like for our students. So we started the conversations with CVOs. We had monthly follow-ups with them to be able to have them as part of the design and get information from them of what they would be able to provide and support. So when I say yes and no is because on their funding, they will be able to provide us a smaller number of slots, not necessarily what we as a district would like, but if we had additional funding, then we would be able to open those opportunities to more students rather than less. So that's where my yes and no comes into play.
Understood. Thank you for being proactive about that. And I encourage anyone listening, if they want more information about ways that they can advocate for that state funding, there'll be a lot of communications going out. You can watch a meeting that was held yesterday evening of the Legislative and Advocacy Task Force that discussed some upcoming opportunities. So stay tuned for that. All right, Mr. Walker.
Yeah. Two questions. First about credit recovery. You're granting a credit for 40 hours of instruction. So, I guess looking for your assurances that these students are just students who are repeating the class, right? So you're not having some young person who's never taken an ELA class trying to get a whole year in 40 hours. Is that the understanding?
That's correct. So students that are taking credit recovery, they are required to have already taken the class once and not passed it. And so it's a 2-hour class. And so for those 2 hours for 20 days, they are retaking the class in order to be able to recover the credit from when they originally took it. We do not generally allow students who have not taken a class to sign up for credit recovery. So
Okay.
there's no credit attainment for the first time. They have to have taken the class before.
Okay, I just want to get that out there for public consumption. And the other question is about your soccer camp offering. It seems like it's only for magnet middle schools. Are other community-based middle schoolers able to access a soccer camp if they have some soccer skills?
So I think that is a school-based program.
No, I
Oh,
think
for the
he, I
Oakwood,
think he,
sorry.
yeah, no. I think he's talking about Oakwoods. So the Oakwood Sports Center reached out to us and is looking to partner with us and actually are offering 100 free slots for Hartford Public Schools students to be able to participate in their soccer program. We opened this opportunity to all of our 6 through 8 graders because this is offered in Glastonbury. It made sense when we look at the design, right? To be able to have opportunities for both our neighborhood schools as well as our magnet school students, with the understanding that getting to Glastonbury and back would probably be something that our magnet school parents will be able to support. But this got open too. The information went out to all of our 6 through 8 graders. We did host a summer fair this past Saturday to have parents come and do a meet and greet and ask questions and see if it's something that we're interested in. And as we filled up the 100 slots, we are able to talk with him around opening it up for more slots to go in. So we're starting with 100. We're able to go up to 200 slots via this program. And this is our first year working with this organization. So we're testing it as well.
Okay, so you're saying that the parents or the local communities got to provide transportation for the youth participating.
Yeah,
All
so
right.
what we were able to solidify with this organization is because transportation wouldn't necessarily be something that we can offer, this organization will be able to have before care and after care. So the program runs from 9 to 4, but they will be open from 7 to 6. So if parents are able to get their children there between 7 and 9, there is before care. And if parents are running late, between 4 and 6, they will hold or they would have program all the way to 6 o'clock to allow for parents to come and pick up their children. And this was a part of that information session that we just held. And we're hoping to have another session to continue to do that recruitment effort.
Well, yes. Well, that sounds terrific. Please offer it to the community middle school parents, because I think there's enough interest amongst the community that they would get their child there.
Agreed. I think Viviana has something to say.
Yes, I just wanted to add that the slots that they offered free of charge, that's just that number, but they also are offering a sliding fee scale for the rest of the students that are Hartford Public School students that want to join, right? So it's a huge center. We're actually scheduled to go visit it. And there are a lot of different activities that they can do. But yeah, just wanted to make sure that we all know that, yes, we have 100 students, but more can join, and there'll be a sliding fee scale that adjusts to the family's needs.
Yeah, I think the only other thing I would add is that this year we wanted to make sure, different from other years, is that we actually had opportunities for early start students middle school students, and our high school and/or credit recovery students, which is why we're also partnering with CWP for our credit recovery students. We wanted to really make sure that as a district, we were strategically working with partners to ensure that all of our students had an opportunity to participate into some type of program activity. And that is something that we want to continue to do year after year as we continue to evolve in our summer programming.
Thank you very much for that. Any last questions on summer programming? All right, Ms. Doyle, thank you. And Ms. Cuevas, thank you very much for being here and hanging in with us to share all the work that you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Good night.
And we will move swiftly on to the reports from School Governance Council, Title I, and Welcome Center.
Good evening, everyone. Alejandro Martinez here. So providing update on our SGC as of right now. So from the month of March to now, we've had an increase of 9 schools that went from full membership, the 14 members. So right now we currently have 33 out of the 38 schools with full SGC members. And I just want to shout out those schools, those FCSSPs and administrators that have been working very closely to ensure that they have a full seating SGC. So Betances Early Lab, Global, Milner, MLK, SMSA, Buckley, Rensselaer, Capital Prep, and Burns. Those are the 9 schools that went into a full membership this month. With that, we had an increase of parental membership from 248 to 253, teachers from 174 to 181, and CBO partnership 69 to 72. Just want to emphasize that the other 5 schools are very close, and just want to give you those numbers as well, just to let you know. So HMTCA, all they're missing is 1 community partner. Noah Webster, 1 community partner. Parkdale is missing 1 parent. Maria Sanchez School is missing 1 parent and 3 teachers, and Burr is missing 4 parents and 1 teacher. And we are working with those FCSSPs and teachers to ensure that we have a full seating SGC by the end of this school year. And if no questions, we can move on to the next slide. With Title I funding, as you all know, there is the original amount as of December was $141,446 $100.71. As of March 24th, we had encumbered $105, a little bit of almost $106,000. That report was as of March 21st. As of this afternoon, we had encumbered $109,000. So we're still working with FCSSPs, and finance is still processing some requisitions that were put in the last week or two. So the remaining balance of the 25.3% that we can assure that we're working with every single FCSSP and school administrator to ensure that those dollars get spent within the next week. And that concludes my Title I report.
Any questions for Mr. Martinez on school governance councils or Title I? Go ahead, Ms. Estrada Perez.
Just a quick question in terms of parent SGC involvement in legislative work, advocacy. Is that something, can you give us a little, now I know we're focusing on making sure that all of these schools have a full SGC membership to each one. Is there something that happened? How can SGC parents be more engaged? How do you all engage SGC parents to support, let's say, in initiatives that have to do with fundraising, with going to the legislature, with advocating? Is there something that's part of the SGC process? And
that is not part. So as as it stands right now, that is not part of the SGC ask or process by the state, which is what we follow. But definitely that's something that as an individual school, individual SGC, and as a district right now, we're asking parents to actually advocate at this moment. And what better school program or partnership than the SGC at this particular moment to advocate for additional funding or anything else across the district.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Seeing no other questions, we can move on to Ms. De Hoyos for the Welcome Center report. And thank you, Mr. Martinez.
Yes, thank you.
Give me 1 second, Fleur. Christina, if you go back to the slide right before, there is one iteration or one change that we've done to our Welcome Center report monthly. So starting this month, we are going to, Fleur would also be reporting on our family resource centers as well. That is one of services that we also have embedded. We have 5 family resource centers at 5 of our schools. And it was one of those funding opportunities that we brought to the board to be able to get approval of the funds to incorporate into services. And then I realized that this was something that we had never really brought to the board to report out on what are some of the services and things that we're seeing that is happening at our FRCs. So starting this month, we are incorporating in our Welcome Center report, you would also get a highlight of services that our FRCs are also providing to our families and our communities as a synopsis as part of this. And then you will get the same way how you get the SGC Title I Welcome Center, you would also receive the full FRC report for you to be able to read, digest, and then bring any questions that you may have to our meetings. So I want to at least give that update that is one shift that we're doing, and we're continuing to really make sure that we review all of our processes and bring them up to speed and really highlight the work that our team is doing and be able to report back to our Family and Community Engagement Committee. Sorry, Fleur, I just wanted to tee up what you're going to be sharing.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for that introduction, because then I don't have to speak on it. So you already have the report from February. So next slide, please. For February, we had 528 intakes at the Welcome Center. Next slide, please. If you see from last year, we had 254, and this year we had 528. Quite a big difference in the amount of services we provided in February. For engagement services, there were 3 top areas that we provided the most services. This past February, transportation inquiries was the top one. Displaced family support was second. And then the basic family needs assistance was the third one. And then in terms of the engagement services that we provided to the schools, the top 3 schools for elementary were Sand, Naylor, and Burns. For middle school was Belize, MLK, McDonough. And for high schools, it was Buckley, Weaver, and Kinsella. Next slide. And this is the new FRC report. So for February, what we did was, because the report is a lot more lengthier, we looked at the total support and social services that that the FRCs provided. And we have for Burns Latino a total of 1,349 services. This included the food pantry, uniform assistant, and parent and teacher conference support. For Fred D. Wish Museum, the social and support services total to 72. This included the parent-teacher conference support. For Sarah J. Rawson, the social and support services totaled 666. It included the parent-teacher conference, PTO support, field trip support, coordination of Valentine's dance. For Sand, the total was 618, and it included a field trip to the trampoline park, potluck, Black History Month celebration. And for Maria Sanchez, the support services totaled to 300, and it included the after-school program support, housing, food and clothing, and adult education referrals. I believe that is it. Any questions?
I think before we go into questions, there's two things I would like to highlight. So on the Welcome Center report, when you look at this year's January and February versus last year's January and February, we have had a significant number of fires within the city of Hartford that our Welcome Center has worked diligently with the city in order to provide support to our families and students to ensure that they're able to receive their academic services without much disruption. So that has been a huge increase on those intakes that we've had during those 2 months, particularly. And when it comes to Fred D. Wish, then the total number of services that were offered in checking in on that, that particular FRC has a current opening in staffing. So the number of staffing to be able to provide the support is not really where it is. So now we're working with them to try to ensure that that gets up and running, similar to the other FRCs.
Could I ask just briefly, like, from a staffing perspective, like what work goes into documenting such that we can get a number like 1,349? Like, that's a lot. That's a lot of things in 1 month. Like, how is that number generated? I guess, like, I can imagine some, because of this report, I can imagine some of the services that includes, but like, how does it actually get documented like that?
Yeah, so they operate similar to how our Welcome Center operate in the sense of doing intakes. So they do get referrals either by FCSSPs, teachers, anyone can make a referral for families to be able to get a support from them. But the FRCs are also open to the community itself. So it's not only the students or student families, but community members that live around those schools are also able to come in and receive the report. So they do conduct an intake service to allow them to gather information on what is it that is needed. Is it food insecurity that they're going to be working on? Is it referrals for adult education? So this way they know exactly, is it a referral? Is it a service? Is it a connection that they need to do? So based on those intakes that they do, and believe it or not, it's still paper-based. I was very surprised when I took over our work and started to really connect with our FRCs and the different areas to figure out how processes were in place. It's still paper-based, still binders by month that they actually have the intakes and information that are gathered. And then their staff, based on all the different intakes, is the one that compiles. They do have an actual report that needs to get filled out and goes to the state. So the report that goes to the state is the report that we're reviewing to be able to bring a highlight to you. So the state does ask them to provide the number of intake, the number of housing information that was provided, the number of workshops that they did, food insecurity. So it's a very detailed report that they need to do to the state. And based on that report is where we're going to be getting or gathering highlights to bring to this committee, unless you have questions from the bigger report for us to be able to provide answers with you, for you.
Great, thank you. I appreciate the double use of the report, and I don't necessarily want to be part of like creating more paperwork for people. So
No, we're working on systems. We're really working on our office and our team to kind of be able to be a little more systematic. It's going to take us some time, but I think we're having some momentum. At least everybody now understands the bigger picture and really look at where the impact is. And it allows us to really look at any areas of gap and what type of strategic partnerships we need to be doing to be able to mitigate those gaps. So the team is really, really working diligently on making sure that we all understand what our bigger picture is and how do the work that we do impact our families and students.
great. Thank you, both of you, for highlighting the great work that is happening in all kinds of ways across the district. And a reminder that the full reports have been emailed to board members, and I believe they're also available to the public on board docs. Okay, thank you everyone so much for hanging in there. This was a marathon of a meeting. We'll try to try to trim the agendas coming up, I hope. But great information as always.